This programme was made with support from the National Lottery Heritage Fund. In 2023, our Heritage Channel team have been exploring the rich history of our coastal community, following regeneration projects like the Peterson Smokehouse, visiting magnificent local buildings like Wheelsby Hall, and reporting on a heritage at risk like the fascinating and fragile Humberston Fitties. Here are some of the highlights. North East Lincolnshire has many iconic buildings to celebrate and enjoy. Here are a few that caught our eye.
We're here in Cleethorpes to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the pier and to find out more about its history and heritage. Cleethorpes Pier is a fine example of Victorian architecture that has stood proudly on the beach for 150 years. During that time, the pier has attracted thousands of visitors, and I'm sure that many of you have fond memories here, as the pier was once an iconic club and concert venue. The Cleethorpes Promenade Pier Order was approved in 1867, and planning began on developing the town's seafront. Cleethorpes Pier opened on the 4th of August 1873. And on that first day, nearly 3,000 people paid to walk on the pier. Cleethorpes was now a thriving seaside resort, with the beautiful pier at its heart. A concert hall was built in 1888 on the new pier head, but it was short-lived as a fire destroyed the hall in 1903. A new pavilion was built closer to the shoreline, along with a cafe at the head of the pier to attract more visitors. In the interwar years, the pier was sold to Cleethorpes Borough Council, and in the early part of World War II, a large section of the pier walkway was deliberately destroyed to stop enemy invaders from using it as a landing stage if they made it between the Humber forts. Post-war compensation from the government wasn't enough to restore the pier, so it remained at the length you see it today, 1/3 of its original length. The current pavilion had around £50,000 spent on it in the 1960s to make it one of the most modern pier buildings on the East Coast. The pier remained as a club and concert venue for many years, and in the 1970s featured family favourites such as the Nolan Sisters, Cannon and Ball, Tony Christie and Mike and Bernie Winters, and it was a key venue for Northern Soul. In the 90s and noughties, the musical heydays of the previous century were revived as the likes of Blur, Five, A1 and Billy Piper packed out the pier building. After a major renovation in 2015, the pier reopened as a high-quality restaurant and tea room and was named National Pier of the Year in 2016 by the Piers Society. In 2016, Papa's Fish and Chips bought the pier and created the world's largest fish and chip restaurant, which now attracts more than 2 million visitors each year and employs more than 100 people. Over the past 150 years, the iconic Cleethorpes Pier has stood through war and fire. It's seen musical acts from variety to Britpop, and it served food to millions of visitors each year. And talking of food, I'm off to get myself some fish and chips.
This is the council chamber. Now, originally when it was built, the building was built in 1863, so we're 160-year-old this year. Council, for whatever reason, decided then to put 2 extra pieces on, so they built this as an extension in 1888. So this room and our banqueting room were added, and then it became our council chamber. There's a famous mayor, Henry James Veal. His portrait is actually in the building to our left. Don't really know a lot about him as a person and not been able to research very much, but generally people were businessmen. Unfortunately, it had to be men originally who could be mayor, but we'd had a mayor since 1201, so we'd had lots of mayors, and it actually took till 1949 till a lady called Margaret Lamour was our first lady mayor. So the council chamber is used for council meetings. Was used last Thursday. We had our full council meeting in here. When they come to a council meeting, this is where they come and they sit in their allocated seat. This is our assembly room, very important room. It's used for many, many events. One of the biggest events we have every year is our mayor making ceremony, which is held in here. We elect our mayor and then we derobe the old mayor and we robe the new mayor, so it's quite a lot of pomp and circumstance, but it's really a really nice event. We have our organ, which is played, and that sounds fantastic in this room. So it gets used for lots of different type of things. This is actually set up for the Clifton's Dance Academy that will be holding a dance session tonight. And we've got our famous mural. So it actually depicts, allegedly, a royal hunting in Bradley Woods for boars, hence 3 boars, and that's where the crest of Grimsby originally originated from.
Did you know that Grimsby Central Hall is the oldest surviving concert venue in North East Lincolnshire? Well, I'm here on Duncombe Street to take a look inside this fascinating building to find out more. You coming with me?
Grimsby Central Hall opened in March 1936, obviously built in Freeman Street or just off Freeman Street for the fishing industry. Central halls were built as community venues as well as places of worship. So the Methodists worshipped here up until 1991. When the congregation became so small, they decided it was too big a building to maintain, over 3 floors. So they publicised their notice to leave. There was a lot of choirs and orchestras performing here at the time as part of the community side, and they didn't want to lose the venue because it was very valuable. They formed a trust, Grimsby Central Hall Trust, and the Methodists agreed for them to have the building for as long as they wanted to keep it.
The venue offers a main auditorium with superb acoustics and a seating capacity of 700. Plus a 170-seat recital hall with one of Grimsby's only surviving sprung dance floors. Grimsby Central Hall has been the beating heart of the local music community for over 85 years. Orchestras, bands and pop stars have all performed at this iconic venue.
From iconic buildings to hidden gems, uncovered during a year of discovery.
Did you know that this church in Old Cleet is the oldest building in Grimsby, with a Saxon tower that dates back to 1050 AD? Now that's pretty old. But there's also another landmark that's even older nearby. Join me on a journey to find out more about the ancient history of the area. It might look like a simple hill, but behind me in Cleethorpes Cemetery is evidence that Cleethorpes is truly ancient. Beacon Hill, so called because of the beacon that was placed here in the medieval times, is a prehistoric burial mound that dates back to the Bronze Age. That's around 4,000 years ago. Excavations in the 1930s found Neolithic tools in the surrounding areas. suggesting people occupied this area some 6,000 years ago. In the barrow itself, large urns were found holding cremated remains, as well as smaller urns containing remains of 4 children. Who these people were is unknown, but it's hard not to speculate. Perhaps they were great warriors of a clan that lived in this area. But what is certain is that loved ones have been continuously buried in this land for thousands of years. Most people think that Old Clee is part of Cleethorpes, but actually it's not. It's a separate village. And here I am at Old Clee Parish Church to find out more about its history.
The church, Old Clee, is actually called Holy Trinity and St Mary the Virgin. So not many people know that one.
The land that the church is built on used to be ancient farmland, and it was surrounded by water. And the oldest part of the building is behind me.
It's mentioned in the Domesday Book because we are actually the oldest building in Grimsby. That's the tower, the Saxon Tower.
This is the oldest building in Grimsby with its 11th century tower. The church was intended to provide not only a place of worship, but also a vantage point from which to watch for Viking invaders and a sanctuary to protect the villagers. You can see the so-called Old Man of Clee built into the stone, just up there. Nobody knows who the Old Man of Clee was, but he's always watching over the area.
It was better for my mental health for me to feed her. It was nice for me just to be able to have that me and her time.
I notice it calms me down. I kind of even doze off.
They do say it helps you losing weight a lot quicker as well, so I think that's a bonus for the mums.
I'm having my body snatched back. I feel renewed. Yeah, I have this satisfaction.
So it protects mum against ovarian cancer, cervical cancer, breast cancer.
Lowers our blood pressure with the release of oxytocin. It's that feeling of bonding, feeling of well-being with your baby as well, that you can't bottle that.
Hidden gems are not the only precious thing in the region. Our long association with the armed forces is something we are justly proud of.
Have you ever wondered why so many military planes fly over Grimsby and Cleethorpes every day? Well, it's because Lincolnshire has so much flat land, making it the perfect place for RAF bases. So perfect, in fact, that during World War II, over 46 air bases were located in the county, giving Lincolnshire the nickname Bomber County. Today we're in Cleethorpes to take a look at some of the war memorials located here and have a chat with some of the local veterans who have served our country. During both World Wars, Grimsby and Cleethorpes provided thousands of men for various military and naval units. Many of them joined the 10th and 11th Lincolns, the Royal Field Artillery and the Lincolnshire Yeomanry. Grimsby provided over 400 trawlers with nearly 6,000 fishermen to man them. Altogether, a total of about 14,000 men went into various services. What was left of the fishing fleet carried on amid the dangers of the North Sea. And in this perilous endeavour to maintain the food supply, 156 trawlers were lost or captured, and over 500 fishermen perished. To commemorate those lost at war, Grimsby and Cleethorpes has a number of war memorials and cenotaphs. And here in Cleethorpes, the Remembrance Gate overlooks the beach. It was dedicated 10 years ago during 2013 on the Armed Forces Day celebrations. The crest shows the Army's crossed swords, the eagle of the Royal Air Force and a naval anchor in the centre. 8 stainless steel plaques and 2 larger granite plaques honour every branch of the armed forces and merchant navy. The people of Grimsby today know Wheelsby Woods as a public park, but it hasn't always been a park. Where I'm standing right now used to be the location of a prisoner of war camp. Wheelsby Camp started life as a training camp for troops in the First World War. But during the Second World War, its purpose changed. Italian prisoners of war brought over from the fighting in the Middle East were imprisoned here and used to work the land. Following the D-Day landings in 1944, the camp was also flooded with German prisoners. Over 100,000 prisoners of war were held in the UK, and Wheelsby Camp was just one of hundreds. After the war had finished, the camp had changed once again, and this time it became home to a legendary troop of soldiers. The Polish Carpathian Lancers were formed in Syria, made up of 500 men who escaped Poland after the German invasion. Fighting on horseback, they were a crucial part of the war efforts in the Middle East. During their time in Italy, they fought in the gruelling Battle of Monte Cassino, which was devastating for the Allied forces, who lost 55,000 men. At the end of the war, the Lancers were settled here at the camp in Grimsby, and they were given 2 options: return back to Poland or remain here in the UK. And almost all of them decided to stay.
The Armed Forces Weekend was just one of the spectacular public events enjoyed by visitors and locals alike. Our Heritage Channel team were there to capture the atmosphere and preserve the legacy.
It's absolutely fantastic. It's bringing together the community.
It's an opportunity for all sorts of different organisations and individuals who have a connection with the sea, all to come together on one day.
We're really excited because we do need to promote Grimsby.
Welcome to the Festival of the Sea! Yay!
Is absolutely fantastic to get everybody in the communities together.
It's about giving people the opportunity to be creative in their town. It's brilliant.
This is the 3rd time it's happened, and what it's all about is showcasing Grimsby's links to the sea, looking backwards and also looking forward.
The Festival of the Sea is great for Grimsby because it's celebrating the heritage of the town, what built the town.
We should celebrate our heritage and our fishing industry and be proud of it.
This will be an absolutely thriving cultural sector. Some people might go, well, what's the relevance of the arts? But the arts are incredibly powerful.
When we're here in North East Lincolnshire, we are in Viking Age England. So this celebrates all of that culture and heritage that Grimsby is so strongly tied to.
The members of the public can come around and they can see everything from blacksmithing to candle making, making bread and even cheese.
The families can walk around, there's loads of free activities for children, you can meet the Vikings.
Well, we've come to Grimsby to teach you all about your heritage, because Grimsby is a wonderful place and it was born on a Viking backbone.
It's nice to show the kids kind of who their ancestors were.
Highlighting heritage at risk is an important part of our work, and we were therefore keen to explore and report on the beauty and fragility of the unique Humberston Fitties, the last remaining plotland of its kind in the country. Caroline Carr is the Director of Fitties CIC, an organisation that aims to preserve the historical uniqueness and heritage of this special place. Her family have owned chalets here for over 50 years.
As a small child, I used to come down with my mum's family, and they had a chalet on Anthony's Bank Road.
So my mum's dad was a fisherman, and that's kind of typical where lots of fishing families had chalets, and then in the summer the fishermen would go to work, cycle down to the docks. The mums and the kids would just spend all their time on the beach and having fun and enjoying themselves and just having a holiday. So the Fitties was first established in the early 1900s, and people used to just come down and enjoy, and they'd bring tents and they'd sleep out, just ad hoc. And as time evolved, they brought more ad hoc structures. So there was a family in Dudley Street, a doctor. His daughter was really, really ill, and they recommended sea air. So he packed up his horse and cart, and with some primitive shed, and came down and set up camp. And people still call it the camp. The sheds and the huts became more and more permanent over time. And then in the wars, so both First World War, Second World War, it was used by the army. So it was a key tactical base. The officers' mess from the Second World War is still here. There's lots of buildings with a lot of history and heritage. We have a chalet design guide, and one of the key features, I think, is that everything is so different. Most of them are completely and utterly unique in their design and just their complete quirkiness and ad hocness, and that's part of the beauty of this place.
Coverage of stories like the Humberston Fitties and People's Park was given an extra dimension and a cinematic quality thanks to the addition of a drone pilot to our production team. There is a wealth of cultural, environmental, architectural and social heritage in North East Lincolnshire, which has now been recognised at a national level. The work to preserve, promote and protect our proud heritage is now receiving the support it needs and deserves.
The Starter Fund in North East Lincolnshire has been a really important project. We've been really able to reach small community groups with smaller projects that ordinarily we wouldn't necessarily have been able to fund.
We've got so many grassroots ideas amongst the town, within the town, but maybe people with perhaps not that confidence to be able to go out and put in funding bids themselves, so they need that kind of foundation, that opportunity to do so.
Some of them were very small amounts of funding, which is more difficult for people to obtain from us, and others just wouldn't necessarily know of us or our processes or be able to access those. So with support from people who really do know and understand the local context and the local community groups, we feel that we've been able to really fund things that matter to local people.
With average viewing figures of 30,000 people, the Heritage Channel has played an important role in bringing the heritage stories of North East Lincolnshire to the local community and a wider audience around the world. Next month's programme will be coming from Grimsby Fish Docks, where we will be sharing news of some exciting new developments and meeting some of the people behind the regeneration of this important place in the history of our coastal community. Thank you for joining us on the Heritage Channel. We hope you're enjoying our programmes as much as we are enjoying making them. See you all next month.
I'm here in Cleethorpes to find out more about this fascinating... It's not hard, is it? You haven't seen this? You wait till it's better when it's edited.
He was able to call on this valuable experience to transform the cultural landscape of our region and generate a renewed interest in rich heritage.
Post-war compensation from the government wasn't enough to restore the pier, so it remains at the length that you see it today. So it remains at the length. No, that is the easiest probably.
Also, my stomach was rumbling and it felt like I could hear it on the thing. Could you hear it? I heard, I thought.
So this is the heaviest bell of the three, and I thought the first one was heavy. Here we go. Oh, you've got to get it going. Got to get a bit of momentum going. And then you just hold it. Oh, that's it, we're up.
I was trying not to laugh.
This year's festival will also... Oh God, who writes this stuff?
You do. This, I don't know if it's because I've got the hang of it. It feels easier.
The 2024 Hammond Health and... Yeah, Hammond Health.
We'll be paying a visit to War Memorial. Fucking hell. One more. Come on. That's it. I'm cancelling my gym membership now. I'm just coming here for my workout weekly. Oh, thank you, Helen. That was hard. That was, yeah. Post-war compensation from the government wasn't enough to restore the pier, so it remained at the length you see it today, 1/3 of its original length. Yes! Come on! We've got it! Come on!
The programmes on the Heritage Channel are made with support from the National Lottery Heritage Fund.